Welcome to the Weekly Blends Reality Check. I'm Corey Burris.
I'm Lasse Lund.
I'm Greg Zanti.
And this week, or this time, we're talking about Comic Jumper, which is a downloadable title by Twisted Pixel, the guys that brought you Explosion Man and...
Only available on XBL, right?
Right now it is, yes.
Okay.
It was part of their week of, or their, they have the summer of releases on Xbox Live. This is their fall one that they started doing, and so when they do that, it has to be exclusive to the Xbox system for a certain amount of time.
They pay big money for exclusivity.
Exactly. But it's by Twisted Pixel, the guys that did Explosion Man and The Maw. It is, we got one review code, so I'm the only one that's played it so far. So I'm just going to kind of talk about it. You guys can ask any questions that you want to talk about. Essentially, it's a side-scrolling game. The premise is very funny. I mean, you're essentially a comic book character, and your comic has failed you, and you have not done very well. It's not had very good distribution, so you've been kicked out of your comic, and so you have to jump into all these other comic book worlds and get your comic back.
Okay.
And so while you're jumping in through these worlds, and it's like a Conan the Barbarian type of person. As a matter of fact, the main character in the Conan the Barbarian is very much like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's like fat, but he's huge and fat and all of this stuff. And then, and they kind of play off of that obviously a lot. Okay. And then your villains, though, have jumped in. Your villains from your comic book have jumped into these other worlds. So you go through and you go through a typical Conan the Barbarian, you go through one that's set in a very old 80s style comic book, and then you go through one that's set in a manga world, which is just crazy.
So when you say side-scroller, is it like a platformer, or is it a brawler, side-scroller brawler?
A little bit of both. It's essentially you run from side to side for most of the game, and you shoot a gun. Okay. So you move the right stick.
So I was pretty accurate when I said Earthworm Jim, actually.
Yeah, very much so. However, there are certain sequences where you put your guns away and you have to brawl, but those are like super weak, and the only reason they're there is just for these short segments. And if you do them perfectly, you get a kind of a bonus so that you can beat the game, or so that you can kill every character on the screen. And the strength of the game, and we talked about this, and my opinions on the game haven't changed a ton since I first talked about them on the audio podcast, but the strength of the game is its humor. It's actually very funny to jump in and out of these worlds. It's very funny to see their kind of referential treatment. They talk to the developers on a screen in the main studio.
So breaking the fourth wall a lot.
Yeah, breaking the fourth wall a lot. They kind of make fun of themselves throughout the whole thing, and it's just very well done. There's a song that plays when you go to your stats, and you can tell it's the developers singing the song. It's like, these are all your stats, and then they sing along to it. Awesome. And then they kind of read off your stats in a funny way. And so that part of it's very funny. It's really well done on that side of things. So that said, the character, you're a smiley face guy, and then you have the star on your chest. And I don't understand from a character design point why they have the star on there. I don't really think they needed to do that to add to it. It doesn't do any special powers to you. It doesn't do anything special, but it's there for what it is. But overall, the problem with the game, and I'm kind of going to be negative here for a little bit, it's a great game, but the problem is it's boring.
Oh, really?
After
all that
talk about humor and the songs,
the fourth wall.
Well, that part of it's hilarious. And during the game, when you die, for instance, it feels a lot like Mega Man, and you have to like jump over certain things, and it's very difficult. And there's lots of dodges.
There's a lot of redos.
The gameplay is very boring, and the problem is it's not the general gameplay; it's the bosses at the end of each one of the levels. Is a grind, and I'm not kidding when I say a grind. There's one boss I just beat, and I did not finish the game. I actually deleted it off my account because I got so frustrated. It takes 2 million hit points to kill the last boss, right?
How much does your gun do?
Your gun does about, honestly, you're probably sitting there grinding. My guess is it's probably a 15-minute fight, firing straight at the guy for 15 minutes straight.
Wow.
And so that's
essentially for balance.
Yeah, that's essentially the problem is you're dodging all these things, and it's a repetitive motion that you have to dodge every single time. If he does this, he's going to swing across, and if he does.
So that's that's back to the old school boss fights.
Yeah, and so in that sense, it harkens back to that, but it's boring. Like it's just like, oh, he's doing this, slide. And if you screw up one or two times, and you screw up at the end of that 15-minute process, start over. And that, for me, was the downfall for the game. The funny thing, it is, I said Mega Man, they actually, when you die, you burst into the Mega Man, wall things, and he says, oh no, you suck. Things like that. So So, I mean, it is a game that everybody, like, it actually is a game that I want you guys to come over and I want you to play it. I want you to check it out because it actually is a very, very funny game. It's fun for short periods.
I want to play that, boss.
But it's frustrating.
Greg.
It's frustrating. And they have lots of challenges.
Like Final Fantasy 13, every battle is 15 minutes long, so...
Yeah, but you weren't sitting there doing this the whole time, and that's the problem. Gameplay-wise, it's a little floaty controls, floatier than probably should have been, and just a couple of things they could have changed that would have made it a little better. But definitely check it out online, Xbox Live Marketplace.
So if you were to give it a 1 to 10, because that was pretty even on the positive...
6.5.
6.5?
Because it's honestly, the humor in it pushes it over the edge for me. So
cool. Okay.
You can check out everything we think at twitter.com/CoreyBruss
/LassaLund
/Greg Santee.
Also check out the website, theweeklyblend.com for news and our weekly audio podcast. Until next time.